Ilia Topuria is fully immersed in preparation for one of the most significant bouts of his career, a highly anticipated clash with Charles Oliveira. His training camp is intense and laser-focused, combining sharp striking, polished, grappling, and demanding conditioning work. Backed by a world-class team, Ilia is pushing past his limits, not just to maintain his standing, but to create a lasting legacy. Day by day, he's increasing the distance between himself and the rest of the division, approaching every training session with the intensity of a championship fight.
The way he's treating him, I think he should be fighting with Topuria, because if you see this is a sport, I think he should be the #1 contender. I think he should fight for the belt against Ilia Topuria.
Oh wow, okay.
But I think Charles Oliveira got a lot more charisma than him. I think Charles got a lot more followers. I think people like Charles a lot better than him, so that's why Charles is...
Despite Ilia's dominant performances, Renato Moicano offered a contrasting viewpoint. He argued that another contender might be more deserving of a title shot against Topuria, suggesting that Charles Oliveira was chosen largely due to his widespread popularity and magnetic personality. According to Moicano, while Ilia has rightfully earned his spot, Charles has a unique ability to engage fans and generate greater buzz around a fight. Islam Makhachev's coach, Javier Mendez, weighed in on a potential showdown, saying he'd bet on Ilia to come out on top, even though his personal support lies with Oliveira. Mendez noted that Oliveira's upright posture might leave him exposed to Ilia's relentless, pressure-based boxing. He highlighted Topuria's accuracy, especially his knack for landing clean shots to the chin, as seen in his bout with Josh Emmett, as a major weapon. Mendez added that unless Charles can keep the distance with strategic knees or front kicks, getting Ilia to the mat won't be an easy task.
Ilia, power puncher, boxer, low stance, versus Charles Oliveira. If someone gave you 100 grand to bet on that fight, who would you bet?
Ilia. But if you're asking who I would want to win, I'll put Charles. I'll put my money on Charles.
Yeah.
It's basically because Charles is going to stand in there upright, like you're saying, and Ilia's got a really good way of connecting with that chin. Really, really nice. Just like what he did with Bo. Ilia's got more opportunity.
Javier Mendez went on to say that he sees Ilia Topuria coming out victorious against Charles Oliveira, largely due to Topuria's sharp boxing and close-range exchanges and his ability to land powerful, accurate strikes. He emphasized that Oliveira's upright posture makes him more susceptible to those kinds of attacks. And unless Charles can create space with well-placed knees or front kicks, taking Topuria to the ground will be no easy feat. While Mendez acknowledged Oliveira's reach and the threat posed by his kicking game, he still believes Topuria has more clear routes to win in this potential clash.
Why else do you think you pick Ilia over Charles? What is it about his skill set that you like more?
It's basically because Charles is going to stand in there upright, like you're saying, and when he gets inside, he's going to use that boxing, and Charles' head's going to be up, and Ilia's got a really good way of connecting with that chin on the inside. Really, really nice, just like what he did with Volk, you know. And I think if Charles doesn't get him up the middle with knees or front kicks up the middle, he's going to have a hard time with his boxing against him, and he's going to have a hell of a time trying to take him down. So it's going to be one of those where Ilia's got more opportunities than Charles does. But Charles can surprise us with his length, you know, and up the middle would be really, really well suited for him. And the kicks too, you know, body, head type thing, you know, low, high, you know, he could do really well.
Mendez also pointed out Topuria's advantage in close quarters combat, highlighting his sharp technique and heavy hands. While he recognized Oliveira's length and his ability to unleash dangerous kicks, Mendez maintains that Ilia possesses a broader range of strategies to secure a win. That confidence is reinforced by Ilia's training approach, which is carefully crafted, intense, and highly purposeful, focused on pushing both physical and mental limits. From mastering takedown defense to executing high-pressure grappling drills, every workout is tailored to simulate real fight scenarios and neutralize specific threats. Ilia's dedication goes beyond the gym as well. He's been spotted running, sprints on athletic tracks, working on explosive footwork and pinpoint movement, fundamental aspects of his forward-pressing style. It's a clear sign of how meticulously he approaches his craft, fine-tuning every aspect of his preparation like a champion determined to stay ahead. On the flip side, Joe Rogan continues to show strong support for Charles Oliveira, praising him as a natural finisher who can defeat anyone when he's performing at his best. Rogan pointed out that people often unfairly judge Oliveira based on his early setbacks, overlooking the incredible progress he's made since joining the UFC at just 20 years old. He also believes that becoming a father brought a new level of focus and tranquility to Oliveira's approach, shaping him into a more composed and dangerous athlete. In Rogan's view, Charles has transformed into one of the most well-rounded and dangerous fighters in the game today.
Watch Charles Oliveira, some of his earlier fights, looks like he kind of like folded.
Yeah, for sure.
And then something happened after the birth of his daughter where Charles Oliveira becomes this assassin.
Yeah.
And he's just and he just has no quit in him. He's just an animal.
Yeah.
And it's just like everybody just forgot about that old shit. Like, no, he's a fucking man.
Yeah.
And they forgot about the Cub Swanson fight. They forgot about all these other fights. They forgot about the Paul Felder fight. They forgot about those fights. Like, all that fight. What is he capable of?
Oh, now.
When he's
Joe Rogan described Charles Oliveira as an absolute force inside the octagon, stressing that his earlier defeats shouldn't take away from the high-level fighter he's become. Rogan pointed out that while some fans remain fixated on Oliveira's past missteps, they overlook the significant growth in his technique, mindset, and overall performance. He reminded listeners that Charles joined the UFC at just 20, still developing both physically and mentally. Over the years, Oliveira has refined every element of his game. Now armed with experience, confidence, and poise, Rogan sees him as a fighter who's truly found his stride and a legitimate threat among the sport's most complete and dangerous athletes.
Homie is the Joe Rogan in our group where he knows so much because if it's anything I don't understand, he just explains it, you know?
Yeah.
He was trying to tell me, no, man, Oliveira monster. And I'm like,
Oliveira's a monster. People think of Oliveira as not being a monster because there's times that people have beaten him. But he got better. You got to accept that and not think of like when he lost.
because so many people, well, who gets better at 35?
I don't believe he's 35.
No?
I think he's 33. And I also think that he got into the UFC when he was 20. But he came into his own over the last few years, which kind of makes sense. Like he figured it out. And so part of the problem was like he was learning and developing and growing as an elite in an elite organization. How old is he? 32.
While Charles Oliveira continues to draw admiration, Ilia Topuria is carving out his own legacy, not only through his gym work, but through the sheer intensity of his lifestyle. He's frequently spotted training on sprint tracks, using racing lines to fine-tune his footwork, acceleration, and movement precision. This style of training, typically seen at the highest levels of athletic performance, sharpens his agility and enhances his ability to close distance with speed, key traits in his relentless, pressure-heavy fighting approach. It's a clear reflection of Topuria's commitment to mastering every element of his craft, pushing himself with championship-level discipline far beyond the confines of the cage.
Vamos a empezar a hacer uno de los entrenamientos que menos me gusta hacer.
12 tramos de 100 metros.
No eran 10.
Siempre hay que dar 2 más. Tú nunca sabes lo que puede pasar en una pelea.
However, not everyone agrees that this is the right matchup for Ilia Topuria. Coach Tim Welch voiced concerns, suggesting that taking on Charles Oliveira could be a risky decision, especially if it comes before a guaranteed title shot against Islam Makhachev. Welch referenced a rumored agreement allowing Ilia to move up to lightweight in exchange for a title opportunity, though the details and legitimacy of that deal remain uncertain. From a stylistic standpoint, Welch described Oliveira as an aggressive and unpredictable striker, known for his explosive knees and upright posture. In contrast, Topuria's approach is rooted in technical boxing and solid balance, making the clash a potentially hazardous one for him.
That's a dangerous fight. Rab calls it stupid to make Ilia Topuria fight Charles Oliveira before Islam Makhachev.
How is that?
Ilia Topuria says he got promised that he would fight for the title if he vacates.
By who? The security guard outside his room?
Yeah, he kind of hinted that he got promised that. I feel like Charles, Ilia,
That'd be fire.
I think Ilia might batter him. The way Charles comes forward with those reckless knees,
And he's got the
dangerous.
chin floating up high too.
Stands up tall like a really tall Muay Thai guy, and Ilia's like a low boxer. That's a dangerous fight.
Meanwhile, Pat Pimblett expressed strong confidence in Topuria's chances, raising questions about Oliveira's durability after nearly 40 professional fights and the potential toll it may have taken. While Pimblett acknowledged Charles's dangerous submission skills, he also highlighted Oliveira's risky fighting style, which can leave him vulnerable. Additionally, Pimblett stressed that moving up from featherweight to lightweight isn't an easy transition, and many fans underestimate the impact of the size difference despite their similar builds. He believes Ilia's combination of power and accuracy could ultimately be the key factor, especially if the fight remains on the feet.
He beats Charles then? I think he might, to be honest. Charles is a bit chinny, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's had about 40 fights or something. He always gets punched. He always gets cracked.
Yeah. So, he's reckless, but he's super exciting.
Yeah, he is.
And he's dangerous.
Exciting. If he gets him down, I can see him winning, because that 10 pounds difference is a big difference.
Yeah.
145 to 155, it's a big difference. People don't understand that because they don't watch the sport or they're not involved in the sport. But that 10 pounds makes a big difference. And especially, like, Charles is like my height. Ilia's like down here when I stand up, you know what I mean? So it's gonna make a big difference.
Pat Pimblett also noted that Ilia Topuria might underestimate just how physically imposing Charles Oliveira appears in person. He pointed out that fighters moving up from lighter weight classes often don't fully appreciate the size difference until they come face to face with larger opponents. Pimblett recalled how some expected Bobby Green and Michael Chandler to look more physically intimidating than they actually were upon meeting them in person.
Get a bit of a flight at how big Charles is when he stands opposite him. Fighters do that with me, who fight at lightweight. You know what I mean? I'll never forget Bobby Green looking over at me and being like, "What? He's big, him." Same with Chandler. Like people thought Chandler was going to be bigger than me, and he just went.
Henry Cejudo shared his thoughts on the stylistic battle between Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira, leaning in favor of Topuria due to his speed and accuracy. He praised Ilia's skillful combination of strikes aimed at both the head and body, reminding everyone of Topuria's knack for delivering knockout blows. Cejudo also emphasized Ilia's toughness, recalling his comeback win over Jai Herbert at 155 pounds, where despite being hurt, Topuria rallied to secure a knockout, demonstrating his resilience and unwavering determination.
I think, okay, the explosive power and the power in the hands, and it's crazy to say that, you have to go with more of Ilia Topuria, right? Ilia Topuria goes high-low. He can go to the body. He can go up top. He's been knocking people out cold. That means Max Holloway, 2 future Hall of Famers he knocked out. None of those guys went championship rounds. We saw him one time at 155 pounds where he did get hurt against Burns, against Jai Herbert, but he got hurt. He got dropped, but the matador in him, he came back and he ended up not.
Meanwhile, Khamzat Chimaev recognized Topuria's talent and accomplishments, recalling their time training together at All Stars Gym before Ilia rose to broader fame. Chimaev mentioned that even back then, Topuria was already competing at a high level in Brave CF, much like himself, and he praised Ilia's relentless work ethic and ambitious mindset. He said it was obvious early on that Ilia was headed for big things, and now, he's achieved nearly everything a fighter could strive for.
Он тренировался в Альстаре вместе, вот до еще его всей известности. Когда вот тренировки, ты его видел, ты видел этот потенциал будущий?
Ну, конечно, просто тогда, в то время, этот был он хорошим топовым бойцом в Брейве, как и я, мы оба там выступали. Видно было, потому что он такой пахарь и хочет добиться чего-то в своей жизни. И парень добился всех высот.
Michael Bisping also lauded Topuria's career, highlighting his steady performances and solid self-confidence. He pointed out that Ilia frequently controls his fights by setting the tempo and seldom runs into serious trouble. Bisping believes that a win over Charles Oliveira, whom many see Topuria as likely to beat, would mark another significant milestone in Ilia's journey, emphasizing that his compliments don't diminish Oliveira's skills in any way.
Given everything that he's done in the sport, the confidence that he's shown, the manifestation, as the kids say, but bringing it all to a reality, knocking out everyone in his way, doing it in absolute style, hardly breaking a sweat, not having to fight through any adversity, not being the hammer and the nail. He's just been the hammer, just hammering his way through everyone. If he beats Charles Oliveira, which I would assume that he's going to be the favorite.
MMA guru and Demetrius Johnson both shared their thoughts on the potential showdown between Topuria and Oliveira. MMA guru called it a major pay-per-view attraction, even without a title at stake, describing it as an exciting matchup. However, he expressed some concerns about how Topuria will adapt to the 155-pound division. Demetrius Johnson added that Topuria is actually a large athlete, often weighing in around 191 pounds, which made it surprising that he fought at featherweight for so long. Johnson sees Topuria's move to lightweight as a natural and smart progression, and enjoys watching fighters make successful transitions to higher weight classes.
Topuria fights Charles Oliveira on a pay-per-view. That's a big deal.
Oh, it's gonna be bigger.
They don't need to wait for an interim belt. They don't need to wait for an undisputed. So, yeah. I don't know how he's gonna do it lightweight, though. Maybe you can speak on that. He's a smaller guy coming up.
It's a smaller coming up. It'll be interesting because he is bigger from when I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast. Like 191, I think he was walking around. That's massive. So for him to cut to 145 seems almost like, how did he do that? But now that he's going up to 155,
Robert Whittaker remarked that the lightweight division is currently one of the most thrilling in the UFC, especially with Ilia Topuria joining the mix. He mentioned Topuria's claim of being promised a title shot if he relinquished his featherweight belt, and expressed the view that champions moving up a weight class should be granted immediate opportunities against top contenders. However, Whittaker also recognized that this approach can frustrate fighters who have worked hard to climb the ranks. In the end, he suggested the UFC will likely make decisions based on what generates the most revenue.
Light division is the most exciting division right now. It's just death row in the lightweight division at the moment. Like the top 5, dude, that guard up there right now, it's just killers, man.
But especially with Ilia Topuria entering the mix, right? The whole big story over the past week was he obviously vacated the title at featherweight, but apparently he said the UFC told him, we promise you a title opportunity if you vacate. That's what he told Spanish media. Or I think he said as a backup, he would fight Charles Oliveira. And now they've gone back and forth. What do you reckon, Rob?
I don't know what was promised or anything, but I feel like if you're in a lower division and you vacate the title, you should go straight to the top of the pecking order. I'd like to see him go straight into a title shot. Okay. Understandably, it can be tricky that way because there are a lot of guys, like, styles make fights. So if the champion of a lighter division has a better style to beat the guy in the high division, where's the fairness of that? Because that guy may not get through 10 guys to get to a title shot. He may not get through the contenders. Yeah, I just feel like there should be a certain amount of weight for being the champion of the division already. I can also see the side of the argument for the guys in the division that have been like, brother, like, I've had to slog, especially in the lightweight division, like, I've had to slog my way to the top of this division, and it is death row there. I think UFC's going to do what makes...
That's a wrap for today's video. What are your thoughts on Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira? We'd love to hear from you. Drop your opinions in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit like and subscribe for more content. And don't forget to check out the other videos playing on the screen right now.